Gotta hurry up, get this over with. I got a baby Philly gonna be born next month. I told her to hold on and wait till I get there.
Hold on.
Hope it's gonna be a Philly.
I missed that.
I can see that. Did you quit?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Oh,
I spent 8 days in the hospital.
you blow yourself up if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how my uncle died. Smoking exhaust, burnt his face.
Oh, that's not good.
You should have quit a long time ago.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm not gonna argue with you on that point. I'll argue with you every day, all day long if you want to, but I'm not on that point, you're right.
Choke on those. Do we know if this farmer's group is the ones that dug out our handicap ramps at school?
I'm an overstimulated mom. I can hear everything. But it's my face. That's my
I can fix that. It's like a, somebody cooking with that money. Do I need to check on the?
Yes, please.
They're discussing something. He came out and said that they're conferring on something right quick. But he said they would start. There they come.
Okay, have John start us up. Mayor Pro Tem.
apologize for the slight delay. Had to meet with the city attorney in the back there about a couple of matters that we're gonna be seeing tonight, so I wanna make sure we had everything together. So, if we're good, we'll go ahead and start the pre-council section. Let's see if it's okay. I'll get this invocation. Brad, you up on that pledge?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Jackie, you up on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
Was
all
there
the
anything in
minutes.
those minutes that needed to be looked or rather discussed at this time, though?
I didn't notice anything.
Think we're
Everything
good.
looks straight on
Think
that
we're
one?
good.
Okay. All right. I'm casting a gaze in the other direction now.
I wasn't here, so I don't.
No. For the payment of bills, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
All right, looking at those bills, anything in there that needs to be?
Fairly short list tonight.
That's always scary, because that means there'll be a lot more on the next round. Wait a minute. So Allison's not here. I was fixing to say, what happens if there are, what is that, 40% or library? It gets scary, right?
Well, insurance is the biggie,
Yeah.
right?
And we need that.
You on the right schedule?
This one?
The 6th.
3-6?
Remember, yeah, I was looking at the wrong one a minute ago
Okay.
myself, that's why I asked. Yeah, insurance is
60,
2/3 of it, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yep. I think we had a big insurance one last time, didn't we? I think so. That should knock out the most of the insurance. Okay, all right, so we'll be good on that right there. All right, then next is going to be on this, planning and zoning. We've got several cases here, guys, so basically, we have 3 different items here. So the first one is this one right here on changing the zoning classification at 7376 and 7388. So 7376, is that the, 7376 and 73, it's actually 7382. That's a typo there on that. Is 7376 and 7382 according to the map. I'll get Bob to double check. Okay. Let's see here. Yes, within the ordinance is correct, but here on this agenda is not. All right, so if you change that in the agenda. Those 2 properties, let's see, put that back on the video there. We'll make sure everybody, no, the map, I'm sorry. There we go, all right, so, we have 3 properties here. These are the first 2. This is Highway 75 right here. So the first 2 properties are these that are closest to the road, okay? What happened was, and Bob may address it during the meeting if need be, what has happened is that, and this is the next case down, is this piece right here. So this gentleman came in and requested he wanted to do a rezoning of this property. When they pulled this up to rezone, they discovered that these 2, which have had businesses on them for many, many years, predating the city, we found out that there was a technical error back when we originally took over the zoning, and these were never properly classified. They still showed as being residential properties, okay? And so obviously they're not residential properties, they've been businesses there for years. So these we want to change to match what in reality has been going on to the business classification in there. So that's the first one of these 2 properties. For everybody else, that's these 2 pieces right here. Oh, you were, oh, okay, I'm sorry, thanks, good. All right.
next one is the 7392 property, and that's where the gentleman has requested to have it rezoned because it is currently, oh, okay.
Somebody's trying to get in right here.
Oh, okay. I think it's agricultural. Let's see what it is.
I think it was rural ag.
Yes, it is. Rural residential, actually, is what it is. And so it's changing from rural residential to the highway commercial is the request.
That's the 08.
It is, the address is 7392, but yeah, probably
That's
on
the
the
second
ordinance.
Right.
There on that. They still have a Highway 75 address. If you're looking at that map, you'd say, well, wait a minute, that's not on the highway. Because the access road that goes to that actually is off the highway, and that's the reason why they get that kind of address. Okay. All right. The next one is the large piece. This is the one that has the, for the big PUD proposal that's been put forward from the Big Giant subdivision, I guess is the best way I describe it. And it has many different addresses listed down there and many different property IDs that are affiliated with those because it's multiple properties which would all be basically pooled together. Yeah, that's the map on it. But they want the rezoning to apply to all those sections. All right. Now, what we're going to do here is this. After, Mr. Black, you might want to, if you want to share a little bit on this particular part, I think it'd probably be wise just to go ahead and state what our plan is here on this one as we go in. But what we're basically going to do is that we're going to have a public hearing tonight for these cases. On the third one, though, what we've decided to do is that we have had a couple of things that we have occurred, and one of them is that we want to do an even deeper dive, allow you guys here at the council more time to actually be able to review the proposal, give a second notice back out to the public. We basically are going to resend the letters back out again to the adjoining landowners and people within 500 feet that are property owners. Let them know with more specificity what exactly the proposal is. Just again, so that folks will kind of understand more about it. For anyone that comes tonight or anyone who's already here in anticipation of it, you will be allowed to speak regarding this. However, there will be another hearing in a month where we will also reopen it up again to allow folks to be able to speak who might not be here tonight or who may decide that this additional information or notice, then they may find that of interest. So, Mr. Black was there. There also seemed to be a bit of confusion regarding the landowner regarding tonight's meeting. And as a result, the engineer was not going to be here, and we thought it was very important for if you guys had questions for the engineer to be able to actually answer those questions. So that's the full disclosure.
Yes, sir. No, Mr. Mayor, I think that is a wise course of action. Since there was some confusion with respect to the notice and the meeting, as you said, I think that's perfectly appropriate for the council to hold a second public hearing on it and reissue the notices that are with respect to that. So just like notices that went out under the ordinance, except those would go out again, and you'd have a second hearing on it. The council is required to have a hearing, but that does not mean that you wouldn't be available to hear from people tonight who may be here, coming, taking time out of their schedules to be here tonight to address you. You could certainly hear from them tonight, and then you could hear from those people again or other people at the next meeting. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So what's the procedure, a motion to table, or will it just not be offered, or what's the proper procedure, Mr. Black?
The proper procedure would be to go ahead and take it up tonight as it is on your agenda and have that public hearing. But then at the end of that public hearing, Robbie, you could simply announce that if there's no objection from any member of the council, that what you'd like to do is hold a second public hearing on the matter to give additional persons time to come and address you. And if there's no objection, they could wrap the gavel, and then you would order the public hearing set for the next one.
So we're going to call it administrative delay, if you will.
What's that?
An administrative delay
Well,
for the one.
a second hearing. Yeah, you could word it that way, but in essence, a second hearing. Now, the law does require that before any zoning changes can be made, that there must be a public hearing. It doesn't say that you can't have more than one public hearing, before that action is taken, okay? So before this council considers it, whether it considers it up or down, it has to have that hearing. This just has two. And so since there were some issues about notice and whether it went out and when it was going to be, perfectly fine to just have another hearing on it.
Actually, this will match up well because the same thing, or something similar happened within the Planning and Zoning Commission. They actually covered this particular project over the course of 2 separate months, so they actually met about it on 2 different meetings, so we'd be basically doing the same thing.
So is it 30 days? Would we need, or what's the delay period?
If you were
suggesting?
to have the second meeting at your April the 3rd
Okay. April
council
7th,
meeting,
April
then you
17th.
it would give sufficient time
Okay.
for the notices to be reissued.
All right.
The notices have to be issued under the zoning ordinance at least 15 days in advance of the council meeting. And
Our
so
next meeting is a
your
14 day.
your next meeting is, what, the 20th of March, and then the one following that is April the 3rd, I believe?
Correct.
So April the 3rd would be the soonest that you could have the
Oh,
second public hearing.
Mr. Black, I had a question about that also. So when we do the public hearing, we will actually, do we need to have one hearing and we will allow comments specifically on each case? And then I would say, okay, well, that's going to end that portion, or are there going to be, practically speaking, 3 separate hearings tonight, one for each one of these cases?
I'd recommend you do 3 separate hearings.
Okay,
With
all right.
respect to the 3 different ones.
So once we we're going to do those 3 hearings before we entertain any motions regarding ordinances to change the zoning.
That's up to you as a procedural matter, Mr. Mayor. You could have the hearing, and then you could take up the instrument related to that public
Okay.
hearing, if you'd like, or you could wait until the end. That's your-
Actually, if that's the case, then I would prefer to do it that way in light of the fact that the 3rd one is the one that we want to delay. So if everybody's good with that, what I would do is have the hearing on the first one, which was the technical change that we talked about. Then actually, I would entertain a motion for this ordinance that's proposed for that. Then I'll open the second hearing. We'll do the same thing on that one. And then the third one, basically at the end, I will then call for a delay. Is that agreeable to everybody? So good with that? Okay, all right. All right, next will be the mayor's report, and I'll talk about a few things. We will, I do want to definitely talk tonight. We have several folks here from the Center Point Fire District, and they want to be able to talk, and I want to give these guys plenty of time to discuss some things. I'm hoping they don't get a call and have to go running out the building. But as we know, this past week has been quite an interesting time with regard to the wildfires in the area, and I kind of wanted to share some insight from my side of the street as far as for what's been going on. And of course, then they want to be able to share with us too about what actually takes place behind the scenes when you've got all these big fires running around. And we're really very proud about how the different departments work together to make things happen over the last week. We've also invited these guys down here, if we have enough time here in just a moment, for a demonstration of the new computer system which the city helped those guys purchase. And they want to actually be able to show us those computer tablets and everything, and about how that can be used in the field. Let's see. Next, under old business, is the PHCC building maintenance and update quote. You have a quote before you. I think it should be inside here. It's in the packet here somewhere. From a contractor. Eric, do you want to talk to them about the scope and everything, about what all we've got going on with this? Is this in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I might have told you wrong, let's see.
Okay, yeah, that's sideways, sorry about that. This is a quote to clean all the roof, to repair all the soffits, all the woodwork, any wood damage, gutters, the gutter downspouts are part of this. Slide it back down to Lisa. She's got those long nails, and no, I'm just teasing. Yes.
There we go.
Of
she
course
got it.
you'll get it.
Okay. Yeah, I asked Hal, this is one of our local contractors that has done work for us in different aspects at City Hall and other locations. The prime all the bare wood, which is anything that he's going to replace. He's going to replace any rotted wood, eaves, the columns, anything that has got to be repaired around the exterior. Also key here is that he is going to clean, prime, reglaze. Reglaze means the caulk that holds, windows that has deteriorated in those old windows, since the cost factor of replacing those windows is, as y'all know, in the $250,000 range, and there's got to be some, we got to kind of be a little bit more creative, let's just say, about how we do that. But it's pretty self-explanatory. He's going to replace the broken glasses too, the broken window panes that are there, because those are individuals. But all that glaze. He's also going to clean the concrete walls as well. They maybe have to be acid etched if they have to be cleaned. There's a little bit of a process there, but all that's included. The ramp at the kitchen entrance back there, all that's going to be repaired and replaced as needed and stained. Okay. We Public Works will assist by removing exterior wiring, replacing some of those LED lightings that are outside that are there that need to be repaired, replaced, to make it look much more, some of that stuff's just been up there for years, put up in hodgepodge of different ways. Any questions? This is below the bid limit, Mr. Black, and we made sure that the law is $75,000 for a Public Works project. I had another contractor prior to, I guess it's 2 years ago with Mayor, and that was about $50,000, but it did not include the windows. The windows are a huge undertaking, okay? So, just want you to know that we feel like this, and with this guy, I don't know if you see his name on there, his contract, he's done work for us before in several locations.
This is the same gentleman that helped us do the window replacements and the work in Heather's office and all?
Well, he didn't do window replacements. He did the interior work. He did the exterior out here in the courtyard that was all rotted, the roof over that back portion of it, replaced all that, put the awning up. He did the work at the ballpark. He did all the painting, all the deck repair, all the porch repair, staining at the sport complex. He did a bunch of work at Powell, outside Powell. He has done, and I say a bunch of work, not very, at a very reasonable. He's a Pinson resident. He owns property on Clay Palmerdale Road. He also owns property on 79. He owns a lot of property around. So he wants to make Pinson better. So I'm not trying to pump him up or anything. You guys are decision makers, not, this is just a good, we need to have this work done.
Somebody knows what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got all the confidence in the world. It's kind of like C Construction. When if I see four corners, he's going to do a great job. And and while I'm here, if you want to go over the next one, that would be great too.
Okay, so would someone like to offer this?
Well, I have a question. How
Yes,
about the spouts, where they're.
The downspouts, yes, ma'am.
And they go, it's holes down in the ground where it's just soaking underneath it. Is all that gonna be where the water will be away from the building?
They're going to replace the downspouts. What it is none of the ends have turns on them. They just kind of dump right there, and what those were vents to the basement. All those have been filled, and we're going to divert all that water away. If we have to replace gutters, I will come back to you with something different, because I felt like the gutters needed to be replaced, but he says no. So I'll wait. I'll hold on to that. That's not part of this.
Her question basically is there is no piping that, basically the water just goes straight down. So they will put the little
Yeah, it'll goose.
90
There's no
degrees on the
piping on the
bottom.
ground. No, ma'am. There's nothing there. I mean, this is pretty old. This is not 100 years old, but it's pretty close.
And
It's,
they have
what is it? 90? Okay. Yeah,
A lot
thank
of,
you.
nearly.
wooden, pieces of wood that was, somebody tried to make a path with them.
Yeah, no, all
We
that's
gonna
gonna
get
be.
rid of all that? No
All that's
stumps
gone.
that somebody's gonna trip on and bust your
Yeah,
teeth?
yes,
out?
ma'am. All that will be taken care of. Yes, ma'am. I
Okay.
promise. Yes,
Good.
ma'am.
I'm fine.
Yes.
That's, yeah, that's.
That's
we're trying to get
absolutely
all that
why we're
fixed.
doing
That's the
this too.
purpose
is
of all
that-
this.
That's really why it needs to be addressed. There's so many little issues that have, we, kind of put on the back burner, and then, anyway. Let's,
I'll offer that and the next one, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all right, so, let's see here, this is the maintenance. All right, so on the next one, as you just mentioned, this will fall under old business, concerning the flood mitigation,
yeah, as you know.
I'm using that term, but basically the big problem is that the creek has grown up and has gotten so stopped up and everything down there, the water can't evacuate fast enough and it causes flooding in the fire station, so.
It's not a creek, it's a drainage ditch, rain drainage ditch that runs between the properties behind help me,
It's
Community center.
yeah, no,
beside the fire station.
but the, safe,
PHCC.
the safe,
Shelters.
thank you very much, the storm shelter, woo! Hey,
Sure where you're
y'all
going.
resemble that, don't you, when I get old, like, okay, so, yeah, the storm shelter, and, the trees have grown up, it hasn't been cleaned in, I would venture to guess 15-plus years, because the size of those trees, and it's clogged that. Now, remember that the whole area was never designed to manage the type of water that is dispersed, same as Old Pinson, Spring, Silver Lake, all that area. None of those culverts, none of that storm drains are designed to handle the type of, an amount of water that we're putting out. But what's happened here is that it can't even slowly dissipate, and it it fills up, floods the neighbor's yard, floods the fire station when we have, which is now our rainy season, and it also almost encroaches. Now, it doesn't get to our storm shelter, but that whole tennis court area fills up, so it's a wise thing. We tried to do this a couple years ago, we never could get dry enough weather, and then when it did come up, the contractor didn't have time, because we have to kind of work. I want to lock him in here. I had a difficult time finding contractors that would agree to do this without taking on the consequences. There is a bunch of cables that hold up a big radio tower there, and so I was very particular. They're going to remove that fence that between the two as well, the old tennis court fence, because it prevents us from being able to keep that clean, the
No
privet.
telling what's in that culvert.
No telling what's in that cover.
Hopefully, when we get down there, we can,
I think that once he removes, Public Works is also going to assist with that too, as far as when he pulls those trees down, he'll pull them out, stage them in the land over there, and then we'll cut them up, and we've got places that we can take them that are close, local, that we don't have to pay, so it helped with that pricing, because that realistically could be double to have that, just that stretch done. And that's not a very big stretch. It's what, I'm going to guess and say,
500 feet, something like that.
300 to 500 feet, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And probably 12 feet either side of center is what I've, rationalized. And then I think that with the property owner and the proper paperwork or that we work through Mr. Black, then we'll be able to work this out safely, and no one will get,
okay.
So what I want to have is, if Mr. Sanders, if you want to propose it, is an approval of this quote, authorizing us to be able to do this, and some language in there authorizing me to work with the legal department and to get
Okay,
with
work
the,
easement.
yes. we
in
need to go-
agreement with the property owner that's adjacent to it. That's
I'll be
correct.
glad to.
Yeah, yeah.
Be
Is
glad
that good?
to.
Okay. All right. Next is we had some openings on the Board of Zoning Adjustments. This is a appointment that the council makes. Chris and I have identified some folks that are willing to participate on this board. This board needs to meet. We've got some things that would come before it, and unfortunately, we don't have enough for a quorum to be able to have it happen. So anyway, 3 individuals have come forward to be added onto, well, one of them I think is a reappointment, the other 2 are new. We still have a few more slots because there are alternates allowed in the law on that, so if anyone's still interested, and we've actually spoken to a few other people, please let us know, and you guys will probably be hearing about some other ones in the coming meetings. Is there someone who will put this resolution forward? Do I have that one too? I think mine's not complete.
Found it.
I'll do it.
Oh, maybe it's back here. Okay, hang on.
I'll do it, Robbie.
Okay, it's, if it goes through, it'll be 25-04. Is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah.
Glenda, is that the one you're looking at, 25-04?
That's what we have.
The resolution appointing members to the zoning board?
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay. All right, we have another item that needs to be added that I did not include on here. Mr. Black, and I believe there may be some folks here to speak to this. And what I'm going to do is since we may not have enough time before the meeting begins, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, after the approval of the minutes, before we get to the finance thing, I'm going to do a little bit of a special, I'm going to suspend the rules and allow some folks to be able to speak, one of which will be these folks, but first will be the fire department guys, because I don't know, Chief Horn, will you be able to stay through the meeting barring an emergency, or? Okay, I wasn't sure about, I'm sorry.
He won't be able.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, and I wasn't sure if the chief could stay the whole time either. But again, all you guys are always welcome to stay, but I want to value y'all's time also. So I want to give you the opportunity to be able to share with us concerning the computer system and all. So if we'll address that then, and we can address the intergovernmental stuff and all that other jazz, if we can do that later in the meeting, that would be great. So would that be acceptable? Okay. And then the second folks that I would have speak will then be, are these individuals here from the country? Okay. So the Farmers Telecommunications folks, if you're, okay, great. So I will call on you, assuming we run out of time here in just a minute, you will be close to the top of the meeting in order to answer any questions about that. And so, does everyone have that? Mr. Black, why don't you briefly share with the council what exactly it is we're up to, why this has been working through the system? They might find this of interest.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and there are representatives here to be able to talk with you. Mr. Marlon Williamson, who's out there. Marlon, that's you right there. And I see you brought a friend as well. That's great. Farmers Telecommunications Corporation has received a big grant from the state of Alabama to bring broadband internet services throughout Alabama into many areas that are not currently served. And so they, part of that route would bring them through Pinson, Alabama. Part of their mission as part of the grant, and they can speak more to this, is to bring service to these rural communities and also to anchor institutions within those communities to ensure better connectivity. That was the purpose of the state grant, and it was awarded to farmers, and so we've been working with their team on this document that you have in front of you. This is a franchise agreement. Mr. Mayor, as you and I know, we've been working on this for several months, but this document, a franchise agreement that we have, and Pinson, as you know, has a few of these with different groups. Whenever there is a business that needs to use the public rights of way of the city, then that business must be awarded a franchise or have the consent of the city in order to use its rights of way in furtherance of their business. And so, obviously, with fiber optic cable stretching down through a public right of way, that is absolutely what that is, right? That is the use of the public right of way in connection with the business, so a franchise is needed. This is a franchise agreement. It is very similar to other franchise agreements that the city has entered into in recent years, some of which have also been with respect to folks that have been laying fiber optic cable through the city. However, those have done it in just connection with their commercial enterprise and not associated with a state grant, as is farmers. So the farmers' situation is a little different than a normal situation because of that grant. This provides for a 10-year franchise. It provides certain standards that farmers would meet, which again is not unlike those of some of the other franchisees that the city have. If you tear up the pavement, putting something in, you got to fix it back the way it was. There's a bond that has to be posted to assure that there are monies there to do that. There's a compensation provision which is in here as well, which would yield a percentage of the gross revenue of farmers related to their business here, with some minimums that Mayor and I have discussed extensively with them. That is in here as well. And again, this is broadband internet service that we're talking about, and allowing the permission for this company to run that line through public rights-of-way in the city of Pinson. There's a map on the last page which shows their initial route, that when they get to address y'all during the council meeting, I'm sure they'll be able to tell you a little bit about their expected timeline for doing so. But if you'll turn 3 pages for the end on page 16, and there's a color copy that y'all have, but you can see on this one, even though it's black and white, the line. It kind of goes through, as it goes through downtown and then up Highway 75, that is that line. That's the track where they'd be laying it down. And it goes near our anchor institutions, public institutions on the way. So that is the 10,000-foot view of that. I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have got them about that document. And I think that, like I said, I think they'll be prepared to tell you a little bit more about their business and what they can do. Okay?
Does anybody have any general questions before the applicant comes forward or anything, so, as far as to where we're at and what the request is? Okay. Let's see here. Is there someone who will be willing to potentially put this forward, assuming the questions get answered correctly in a little bit?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. All right. I don't believe there was anything else. Ms. Jackie, was there anything?
No, sir, that's all.
Okay, all right. Was there anything else you guys know about that might have gotten? Okay, all right. So we have only just a few minutes. So I think that if it's good with you guys, the plan that I laid out there as far as to the way the meeting will be held, to allow folks to be able to speak. Again, we want to allow some time here during this public hearing, the public hearings plural that we'll be having here in a little bit, and to try to keep the guests from having to wait around through all that. So if that's the case, I'm going to give us a short break here for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we will start up at 7. Before that, yeah, right there, right after the minutes.
Oh, I saw something too. Thank you.
I'm gonna call, that's pre-council comment. And that's gonna be from the, which order did I say, the fireman first or the fireman second? Fireman or second? Okay, all right, so, Spencer Point, and then the farmers, internet, okay. And this is Brad.
Oh, okay, yes, that's correct.
PV.
Yep, you're right.
Basketball.
Yeah, show Robbie. let them
Okay, I
know
think that
that-
works. Okay,
Well, she can say as corrected. Okay, when you move on the minutes.
Oh, that's correct, that does need to be changed.
Just say as corrected.
Okay. Yeah, because she's got the listing down there, so we just don't need to have that word in on there.
There's a typo in the
Did you tell,
minutes.
Oh, there is?
tell her,
Yeah,
so that she knows that we did
it
that?
had to do with the next page.
Yeah, that's the minutes, right? Yeah.
Oh, there it is. One more. That's right, it was mine. So just say as corrected, and they'll fix the.
They did?
Passed, just not,
Oh, yeah.
it looked like they passed 3-2. That one passed 3 yeses, 2 noes. And that one looks like it passed 3 yeses, 2 noes. Except these minutes have 2 corrections, you know, I know that, just 2 times.
Noisy chair tonight, huh?
Except in this one.
Oh, that's not.
You could just say, look,
I was like, are you hearing voices?
no, you know, you got 2 typos.
Let's not talk about that.
You can say there's 2 typos.
Are they telling you to do that?
Right. So they didn't pass the matter.
No more than here.
So really, what you just do is you just strike it.
It is.
Right. They passed, but
That's right.
Okay.
We ready? Good? We're good? Okay, let's see, we're gonna go ahead and get started this evening. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the March 6th meeting of the Pinson City Council at this time. Please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you have electronic devices, please silence them at this time. Father, we thank you for this evening and for bringing us all safely here to the City Hall tonight. We just ask at this time that you would guide us, give us wisdom and understanding about many decisions that are coming before the council tonight. Father, we just want to thank you especially again for the many blessings that we've been given here in this community. We thank you for the schools that we have and for the sports teams that we've been able to celebrate here recently. Father, we again thank you very much for the folks that work in our first responders, for keeping them safe, especially over the last week during all the fires that came through the area. We just thank you especially for protecting us during that time. We ask that you would guide us again this evening. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would like to appoint Ms. Jackie Williams as the acting clerk.
Councilor Irvin.
Here.
Councilor Walker.
Here.
Councilor Sanders.
Here.
Councilor Churchwell.
Here.
Councilor Kirkland.
Here.
Mayor Roberts.
Here. Excellent. Do we have a motion regarding the minutes of February 20th, 2025? And I
Yes.
understand there might be a couple, might
There
be a
is.
slight correction there.
I would like to offer a motion to approve the minutes for February 20th, but there's two items that needs to be corrected. And they were not unanimously voted on, but they did pass. And that was ordinance 2025-05 and 2025-06. So I would like, though, to approve the minutes and waive the reading and approve them as written now.
Okay, so just for clarification there, basically we would strike the section there where under, this was regarding the salary for the mayor and for the council.
Yes.
There was 2 places down there where it says, Mayor Roberts, let the record reflect the ayes carry unanimously. It was not unanimous, and so we
No.
just want to strike that particular language.
Carried, right.
They did carry, but
Second on the motion as corrected.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Got that straightened out. Okay, so at this time, I'm now going to suspend the rules. We have a couple of special guests here, and due to matters that may come before us during the public hearings that we have scheduled for tonight, we thought it might be a good idea to let these special guests go first. So first, I believe, was the fire department is what we decided? Okay. So the Centerpoint Fire District, we gave them a grant here recently to assist them with some new computer technology. They've gotten these things up and going, and tonight we're going to get to see some of it. Chief Higginbotham, we appreciate you being here, and everybody expects, you know, you firemen to come in with new hoses and stuff and think that's firefighting, so this is
In
going to be
today's
different.
time, this right here does a whole lot of our work right here. We use this on all of our EMS calls. Our rescue units carry these. It doesn't really affect our patient treatment, but it does affect the aspect of the administration side, which the state requires us to transmit electronic patient care reports. We have to turn them into hospitals, so this is essential in transferring the data that we collect from the patients. This is the new computers that were bought. It's a very tough, rugged computer, much better than your average computer. It's guaranteed to take a 6-foot drop. I'm not going to trust it, but
I started to say, don't demo.
it takes a 6-foot drop. It's negative 20 degrees to 145 degrees. It's got a super bright screen for the sunshine, because sunshine's sometimes hard to see computer screens in. Very rugged computer, built-in cellular access to it. It also does some interesting things. Our people can use it like a laptop, or they can also carry it like a tablet. If they want to use a touchscreen like a tablet, they can turn it around, I say backwards, and close it up, and now carry it as a tablet and turn around and use it as a keypad if they need to. So lots of different options, because we could be in a ditch on the side of the road trying to use it, in the back of the truck bouncing down the road. So lots of options for our folks to be able to use the report and use the computer to do what they need it to do. Replaces some older computers that were rugged computers, but had been around for several years, had taken a beating, and slowly but surely had gone away and not been economical to fix as they got older and tore up. So this is very essential to us being able to do our job and continue to move forward. So all of our units will end up with a brand new computer, and then we'll save the ones that are salvageable or old ones as backups if we need them for something, to have one of these fixed. These have very good warranty repair on them. They offer 2 years no matter what happens to it, whether we drop it, it breaks, whatever, we send it back to them. They fix it for free and send it back to us. So very good warranty, very good service. Same brand, same company that we've used for our older computers, so we're familiar with their product and dealing with them as a company. And we've been very satisfied with the last batch that are several years old that we dealt with. Anyway.
So you can give us another example there. When we're out on the scene, what might you guys do so you can start entering in the information?
Yes, you know, just like when you go to the hospital, we have to have the same information. We have to know your name, your social security number, all that kind of demographic information. But then we also use to document the treatments and the things that we do on it, your blood pressure, what your medical history is, what protocols or procedures that we do to treat you, where we take you to. All of that information gets entered into this electronic report, and then it gets transmitted to hospitals. It gets transmitted to the state of Alabama, to the EMS division, which tracks this. Also, our billing company that bills for all of our transports has access to pull the data out of the software to send bills for the ambulance trips and things like that. So we have to be able to put accurate information into computers. It's not the days of a piece of paper anymore and scribble something down and let it go. It's all very tracked and gives us, as me as a supervisor, a way to verify that the people working under me are entering the correct information, they're following the processes right, they're following the laws and the rules and regulations that are set up for us. So it does great with tracking and keeping up with all of our information.
So Chief, the days of writing it down on a piece of paper and then going back to the station and sitting in front of the computer and all, I mean, I know you guys
Yeah.
between calls, is sometimes just hours and hours go by between No, I'm being facetious. A lot of times you leave one accident, go straight to the next one.
We
This
do.
allows you to shorten that time period down
Right, and
dramatically.
most of our people, by the time the call is over and they're through dealing with that person, 99% of the information they have entered it as time has gone on, because, you know, we end up with multiple people on a call, so lots of times we have somebody that's able to do that documentation as it goes along. If not, sometimes they scribble something down in the heat of the moment and then run back a few minutes later when time works and enter some things in and catch up on it. So, you know, we try to be proficient, and we have to have equipment that works, and, you know, you can't have the big screen, the blue wheel of death show up on the screen in the middle of doing something and you can't get anything done, and you're having to reboot the machine and it's not working. And so, you know, we have to have good, dependable equipment that works like it's supposed to for us and continues to work, you know, as it gets older. 6 months, a year, 2 years, that's a lot of time in computer time. Not a lot of time in our time, but a lot of time in computer time.
Right. Sorry.
And I think you kind of covered what I was going to say. As I understand it, it's gonna reduce the amount of downtime, out of service time, entering that stuff after a call.
It
So-
is,
you
because
can do
we
it
want
right
our
there on
trucks to
scene.
be able to, you know, transport the people to the hospital, finish up on the call, and be ready for the next one, and not be bogged down with having to do the administrative side of it. It's an important side of it, but we want it to move swift and quickly and everything work fine, so they're not bogged down and struggling trying to get that administrative side completed. So this will greatly help that part.
Well, this is great. So, is there a way, if folks later want to actually see the software running on there, they can get with you and take a look at it?
Sure, they can. Sure.
Okay. If you're interested, I would recommend that versus a live demonstration when you guys are actually working on one of us.
Yeah, most all the software that we use for those incidents and things is actually a web-based software, so it's not necessarily a program here. We access, you know, a secure internet program, basically.
Okay.
So we do lots of web-based things now. It stores everything on the cloud. We're not dependent on this machine crashing and going out and it has all this data that didn't come off of it or didn't get off of it, right? So all of our information almost instantly is transmitted and put in cloud servers and things, so
Great.
makes things work a lot better.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Very much. Okay, next is some representatives from the Farmers Telecommunications Corporation.
Spread them out, reach it, should be enough for everybody.
Thanks.
We won't have tests.
I always tell folks we're going to have a test later. That keeps them on their toes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Marlon Williamson. I'm the Executive Vice President of Business Development for FTC, Farmers Telecommunications, co-op and cooperative. Mr. Black has already gave a real high-level view of this franchise agreement request. I just want to take a couple minutes and talk about who we are as a company, what our plans are, and how we can partner together with you. The grant that we was awarded, this middle mile grant, was awarded in February of '24. And for us, it's a 155-mile route of fiber. We currently serve DeKalb County, Marshall County, some Jackson County. And this particular grant awarded by the state is a little different than a typical last mile, what they call last mile grant, where you serve very rural areas. It's designed to bring transport throughout the state. It's one of many grants that the state has done. But for us, when it was engineered and designed, the goal was for us to get from Marshall County all the way south to Trussville, which it was all engineered and designed to pass as many underserved or unserved anchor institutions. So that's why the route is coming through here. Our company's a 70-year-old company. We're not rookies, and we've got about 26,000 current customers. We've been awarded 11 grants from the state over the last 8 years. We have finished every grant on time, under budget, and not every contractor or company can say that. So we have a lot of confidence that we can deliver. The reason that we want to come and see you face to face as much as anything is we want the city of Pinson to know that, you know, we didn't come here to tell you what we're doing. We came to tell you this is what we need to do to meet the criteria of the grant. But we really want to be a partner, you know, with your city in any way we can serve your needs from a broadband perspective. We want to be mindful of that. So we proudly serve, I would say, every municipal, every school in our footprint currently. So we have a real passion to work with communities, and so we look forward to working with you. Our reputation of working with utilities, working with the water, the gas, the sewer, all of that right-of-way stuff, you know, working together is, I think, will be commendable. We will work hand in hand with you, you know, to partner together and to get it done. One of the first questions that's always asked, you know, when's this happening? The whole grant, the entire grant, has a deadline for us. Our commitment is 2 years, so we've got till February of '26. So we're less than a year from this entire project being done, and it takes about 6 months to do engineering and staking and permitting before you ever start working. So out of the 155 miles, there's a map in that pamphlet you'll see. There's some green lines on some of it. We have finished about 50 miles of the 150 from Albertville all the way down to Douglas and Blunt'sville. Our next phase is Aniana to Pinson. So that's ready to get started. So this is something we need to get squared up with. So time-wise, if this had not held up, we would probably be showing up in this area in the next couple of months, and probably be the third quarter before we'd actually be passing through. It'll take 2 or 3 months. So I'm not going to ramble on. I'll let y'all ask me questions.
I'm assuming most of this will be buried cable?
It will all be buried unless there's a forbidden reason. And sometimes there is, especially when you get into town, you get around some facilities, it's almost impossible to bore. But I would say about 90% of our facilities, everywhere we got 3,000 miles is buried. We prefer to bury. It's not always possible, but that's the plan. So far, the first 50 is all buried.
As a network engineer, I prefer it buried.
Yeah. Yes, and let me say this, you may not know about the middle mile stipulations. One of the things about the requirements of us for the grant funding is we listed 189 anchor institutions in the grant application. The minimum requirement we have to have by February is that all 189 of those clients have access. That don't mean they have to be using the service, but we have to be there and ready to serve them if they choose. They don't have to choose our service. The reality is the route got amended, not through here, but in a few other places. We're actually passing over 300 anchor institutions. So, but it's also, it's required to be an open access network. We're burying 3 different conduits. One of those is going to have transport fiber in it that is nothing but transport. And if some third party wanted to come in here and say, hey, we want to offer broadband here or there, wherever, then we're obligated to give them access. Obviously, there'd be some arrangements, but it's required to be open access. So third parties can also use that transport.
And Ma'am, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor?
please.
And I see in here y'all got a list of your community anchor institutions that you've identified in pencil.
Yes, those are the ones in the grant. They're listed, I mean, they're literally listed in the grant application. There's probably more than that, but those are the minimums, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And our business model, I'll just tell you, is primarily, we want to build the commercial districts, the business districts, where, to serve that business community. If we happen to pass through residential areas to get to those places, we do residential service as well. So we do voice, broadband, all that stuff. So we're a full-blown ISP telecom.
Any other questions, or? Okay. We
All right.
appreciate you coming and sharing with that. and
Thank you.
Giving the information there.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
All right, let's see, I will now reinstitute the rules. We will now move on to committee chair reports, and I believe we've got a finance report from Ms. Earl.
Yes, I would like to offer a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $96,510.53.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. I believe the vast majority of that was identified in the pre-council as having something to do with insurance or something, wasn't it?
Yes, we
Yes.
made our final or 2 of 2 payment for our insurance installment for the year.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? If that wasn't on there, it'd been very light. All right. All in favor of paying those bills, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And so we will, that passes, so we will move to get those paid. All right. Let's see, now we're going to move on to the planning and zoning portion of the meeting. I have to make sure I keep my information straight. Before we open these hearings, I'm going to ask Mr. Jones to come forward. He'll be, Mr. Jones is our consultant here at the city, was a longtime employee, recently became a consultant here that assists us with matters like this, and so he's been very involved with the engineers and with the plans that have been put forward and the different hearings that have already taken place. And so we're going to have, in the pre-council I mentioned, we're actually going to have 3 separate hearings tonight, and I'll let you address each one of them as they come up. How about that? So the first one will be regarding 7376 and 7382 Highway 75. So
If I'm not mistaken, these are the 2 that we're correcting an error when our initial zoning was done by Regional Planning Commission. They placed that into, I believe, a residential zoning, and it's commercial property, and it always has been. So this is just an administrative correction of our
So
zoning laws.
basically, before we took over our own zoning, these folks had gone before the county and had been zoned for commercial and done that. And then we took over our own, and Mr. Jones was involved in, and some of us were involved in that process. There were a couple of properties that had to be had to be looked at.
We still find
Thousands of
mistakes.
properties, actually, that we had to go through and classify. And so it's not unusual sometimes go back and find, whoops, where we skipped one. or
We find
whatever.
mistakes, and that's not pointing fingers. Sometimes there's a piece of property that may be zoned agriculture that's a sliver of land that probably has 3,000 square feet, and it should be 5 acres. It's just little things happen, and computer error, hand error, all kind of things.
Exactly.
That's what this is correcting.
So, that being said, I will now open the public hearing regarding that particular piece, which is, again, just for the highway addresses, 7376 Highway 75 and 7382 Highway 75. If there's anyone that would like to speak regarding this rezoning, this is your opportunity to come forward and speak. I'm not seeing anyone moving forward, so I will close the public hearing regarding that, and I will entertain a motion regarding an ordinance on that rezoning.
I so move. Second.
Motion and a second. So this right here would be the ones in your packet are ordinance number, Madam Clerk, make sure I keep this straight here, is the 2025-07, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so this would basically, it technically is changing the zoning classification from rural residential to highway commercial. Madam Clerk, we will need unanimous consent to consider.
Yes, sir. Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. All right, so that being said, was there any additional thoughts on this particular ordinance, proposed ordinance change? If not, Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call vote on the ordinance?
Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. So that ordinance passes unanimously as 2025-07. This will be sent on to the clerk. We have to do some certain postings, Mr. Black, as I recall, and there'll be some, and if the correct amount of time passes by, it will become effective. So we'll move that on through. Next, we're going to move on to the second one. Mr. Jones, again, I'll let you give a little introduction before
All
I
right.
open the hearing.
This is what brought to our attention, the two that we just did. Right behind it, someone has applied to change the zoning to a commercial aspect for equipment rental. That gentleman is here. I've already saw him here. He'll be up to speak in a minute. So he's wanting to utilize their access, the commercial access that exists there, and behind that property, have a commercial rental place, I think, rental and sales.
Mr. Jones, what was the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission?
It was recommended to be approved. They gave a favorable recommendation. It is, however, conditional upon a BZA approval of a special exception. Falls into that category with equipment sales.
Okay.
So it'll be codified by the BZA if you approve it tonight.
So at this time, I'll open the public hearing regarding the 7392 Highway 75. And if the gentleman who is obviously in favor, you wouldn't you wouldn't have asked for the change. If you'd like to come forward, if you have anything you'd like to say regarding this. Some of our faces might look familiar from when you spoke to us at the Planning and Zoning meeting, but
Yes, sir,
there are
Mr. Mayor,
others
yes.
that haven't had the privilege of meeting you, so.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and council members, I appreciate you entertaining this proposal. Basically, I have moved into the area after a 20-year career in the Army. My wife and I have decided, my wife is from Birmingham, and we decided to retire here. I have conducted this business as I've moved throughout the Army by just renting commercial properties and whatnot to do these equipment sales. And what I do is I sell surplus equipment that you can rent from places like Sunbelt or Home Depot, such as trenchers, skid steers, small excavators, things of that nature, and that's what I resell. We acquired this property through a foreclosure now that we have decided to retire here in the area, so I can stop paying rent for these commercial buildings and build a building of our own. And providing approval, that's what we will do. It's pretty small. If it has grown significantly since my retirement from the Army, to the tune of almost $1 million this past year, which was a huge increase from our previous years. You know, and we obviously report that and pay, you know, appropriate taxes and all that stuff. We have a business license and whatnot. But barring any questions from yourself or anybody, I definitely appreciate the consideration.
So there are the other two properties that we just rezoned, they have buildings and businesses, places that are there. Your proposed construction site is just directly behind those, is that correct?
Yes, the Eastern Glass building, from what I understand, it used to be Eastern Glass. They've already established the commercial entrance and everything off of 75. And the driveway, my driveway and their driveway is a shared entrance, and I am directly behind Eastern Glass. There's a 3-acre property there that we purchased directly behind them. So we border Eastern Glass and Belleville, which is right to their left if you're looking at them.
Are there any questions from the council?
This may have come up in commission.
Okay.
Are there buffers established? gonna leave some vegetation, some screening around the edge, particularly on the residential side.
Yes, so I'm not taking out any growth as far as trees, bushes, anything like that.
Okay.
The property that we bought was already an open field. There is I haven't measured it, but there's a significant buffer between our property and the subdivision via, a large swath of trees. I only see one residence, which is at the top of the hill from where I'm located, and I already have a pretty good rapport with that resident.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's a scoop.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, can you give your name? I think we've got the report, but just, my clerk's making sure we get all this written down. So.
Yes, my first name is Billy Joe, and my last name is Richman.
That's a good
We just
name.
hope
It
you
is.
share.
I have 3 middle names too, but I won't share those.
All
The
right.
address of the property is my address is 230 Oak Drive West in Trustville. It's Trustville address.
Thank you, sir. All right, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or against this particular rezoning? You can step forward at this time. If there are none, then I will close the public hearing on this particular piece at 7392 Highway 75, and I will entertain a motion regarding this ordinance change for this rezoning.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. I believe someone's phone's ringing.
Okay.
I'm so, oh, it's our phones here at City Hall. So. Oh, it's yours. Oh, okay, sorry. Someone's calling to see if we're having a meeting tonight. Yes,
right.
yes, we are. Let's see. All right. Madam Clerk, we will need unanimous consent to consider.
Yes, sir. Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. All right. So, any other comments, concerns, or whatever from the council before we vote? Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on the ordinance itself?
Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. That ordinance passes unanimously as 2025-08. Now that we voted, I did have one other thing I wanted to add on that. I'm going to speak on behalf of our Public Works Department. I know occasionally you might have equipment that might need to be tested perhaps or whatever, and I'm pretty sure that our guys, especially if it's something we don't have in our rapport, would love to potentially test that out. I'll let you get with Mr. Winfrey afterwards and perhaps let him know what your offerings might be. No coercion there whatsoever. Again, we've already voted, but just in case there, it is nice to know we've got a company like yours coming into the community, so thank you. All right, next is, there are a lot of addresses regarding this one right here, and during the Planning and Zoning Commission, they actually listed all of the parcel ID numbers, let's see here, which I think a couple of people were able to run up to Little Caesars and grab some pizzas. It took so long to be able to run through all of them. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through these addresses right quick. I do want to make sure we will put the map up on the screen so that everybody knows what we're talking about here. I don't want there to be any confusion about it. And we were going to be opening up the public hearing for this. Mr. Jones, okay, this one right here. And you might also speak a little bit on behalf of our, explain a little bit about the applicant and
Sure.
they're not being here, so.
Right, I'll just start before I forget that it came from Planning and Zoning with a favorable at this time. There was some confusion between the engineer and the owner and the other interested parties. The date was misrepresented accidentally, I'm sure, that it should have been next Thursday. So in the interest of fairness, I think we're going to delay it. That's going to be on you guys. And we had several notices that weren't ever picked up at the post office. I think you're in possession of those. And that.
Well, this was an interesting stack here. During the planning and zoning aspect of the meeting, there were several people that said, we weren't told about this. And so I just wanted everybody to see, this is the stack that we got back, where folks never
Refused-
went to pick up
refused to
their
collect them.
certified mail. So, yeah, you probably don't know what's going on if you
So we're
ignore
we're
those
gonna
little
do
slips that
something
the
a little different there.
postal person puts in your box.
But moving past that, y'all can establish a date. The things that were discussed at that prior meeting was the roads, which was pointed out then that they're state roads. People were concerned, but the state will be the ones to decide what kind of decel or XL lanes are there, any turn lanes based on the development if it's approved. The other thing that was brought up was the schools, and of course, we all know the schools are not the city of Pinson's, they're the counties, and so wherever people build homes, they're gonna go to our schools. It's not necessarily a regulation we look into. One of the other things that's on this thought process is this will adjoin Fitzgerald Mountain Road, and that road is not by our standards anymore. It's a dead-end road instead of a cul-de-sac, and there's been discussion about putting an emergency gate there. There was people who are for it and they are against it. That gate, if that was to come to pass, the road into that subdivision through there or from the end of Fitzgerald Mountain Road would be permanently locked, and the fire department and the police department would be the only ones in possession of a key to function that gate, and it would be for emergency purposes, a blocked road, a fire that they need to fight a different way, or something of that nature. Those were, I think, the three main discussion points at the last meeting, so I'm sure people have that brought up again, but now you at least have an idea of where they're heading.
Excellent. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So, the landowner is not here tonight, so they will not be presenting for their case, but we did want to go ahead and have a hearing. There will be a second hearing at a later date, which the folks that are within 500 feet of the properties will be re-notified again. We will probably not be using the certified mail system because apparently some folks don't want to, well, they might have thought it was bad news, let's put it that way. So we'll go with something a little bit different, but we will be notifying them by letter there on that. So if there's anyone that would like to speak regarding this, this is your opportunity to come forward. Please state your name and address for us. We do ask that you would restrict your comments in length. I do want everybody to have a chance to be able to say things. If someone's already stated your position, then that's perfectly fine to let their comments carry the day with that, rather than us listening to the same thing over and over again, so we appreciate that too. But if there's anyone either for or against this particular project, please step forward this time. And I believe Ms. Jones actually mentioned to me beforehand that she might want to speak, so I'll call on you first if you'd like to. In fairness to Ms. Jones, she actually requested to speak before the meeting, but did not know about the public hearing aspect, so I asked her if she would wait and speak during the public hearing before the meeting tonight. So I'm not playing favorites. She just happened to ask a few days ago. So.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mayor. My name is Karen Jones. I live at 4450 South Drive in the Fitzgerald Mountain Estates subdivision. It's a small subdivision. We have about 34, 35 houses. Eric and I have been there for 25 years, having built our home in the year 2000. We do live on a dead-end street on South Drive. There's only the two streets in our neighborhood. Our street cannot be developed further because our neighbor bought his entire cul-de-sac. So our property is protected, even though we are 500 feet from where this development is going to take place. My concern is several, and I would like to just reiterate the privacy of Fitzgerald Mountain Drive, adding it to a 526 house development would put a huge amount of traffic through our neighborhood, which is now, as you can see, right there at Rudd School Road. It would bring a lot of people down that hill to our stop sign. There would be backups like crazy on school days. And there would also be traffic just flying through from 75 to get over to Rudd, to kind of miss those red lights through town like they already do, coming through Rudd School Road to miss the downtown or the upper downtown red lights. So that's one big issue that I have with this opening of Fitzgerald Mountain. And I think we have been kind of assured that that end of street would maintain as a gated area there. And I thank council for making that consideration on that, because I do think that it would just be way too much traffic through our neighborhood. I would also implore the council to require, of this 526 homes, he's got 80-foot lots, he's got 50-foot lots, and he has 40-foot lots. So that would include decent-sized homes, it would include garden homes, and what to me would be like townhouses right together. Minimal, probably 2 cars per household, as we always have these days pretty much. That's a lot of traffic, that's a lot of houses up on that hill. In our neighborhood, our lots are specific sizes, most of them being minimal 100-foot wide by 300 deep. I would implore the council to please consider a variation to this proposed neighborhood to larger lot sizes, as opposed to so many houses up on the ridge, up on the mountain. There could be less houses, better quality houses, or better sized houses for bigger families. I think that the number of houses that he's wanting to put through there is quite a huge number. I think it would put a strain on our school system in the years to come, and I do know that houses, people bring schools, I do understand that, but I do think this is a very large subdivision. I'm looking at Waverly, and I'm looking at Aspen Ridge down the road. All of their lot sizes are pretty much the same size and uniform in nature. So aesthetically, I think that that would be great for the city to leave those neighborhood, or to continue that type of neighborhood on top of Fitzgerald Mountain. I also, if I may ask a question, council who were present Tuesday night may or may not know this question. It is actually for the developer. Do we know that if or at all there will be any blasting on this hill, on this mountain?
Mr. Jones, can you,
Blasting as a rule,
As in-
just jump in there with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Blasting as a rule isn't entertained anymore, especially for development of this type. It's generally done on things that way magnified differently. A school or something might get that permission, but housing developments are just not, it's not really entertained anymore. It doesn't meet the criteria of being a necessity.
Okay. That's good to know.
do our rules prohibit the blasting, Bob? What would that be if they got into something, they say, hey, look, we want to do some blasting up here, what would happen then?
That's why his plans will dictate the elevations of everything there. So we'll know the cut and fill. Whether or not we have something in our ordinances that define you can't, that would probably not fall into a proper ordinance for a zoning ordinance.
Okay.
But it's so restrictive, and they would be defining that in advance. And I don't see them getting permission
one of the
to
biggest
shoot in any
issues-
category.
One of the biggest issues then would be the fact that it's just cost prohibitive. This would kind of blow their whole business model if they ended up having to get into that expense.
Right, and if you find that kind of rock, then you're looking at just, the whole ball of wax changes about building a house. You can't build a house on a rock. It will crumble, believe it or not. So that's not a dynamic usually for constructing a subdivision.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, council, I appreciate it. Again, I would just implore you to consider the variation or a variation of lot size and home size in this neighborhood. Again, I'm not opposed to development in our city. I really have loved the city all my life. I really think that development is great. I just think that aesthetically and for our community, the same type of subdivision as with the 3 we already have on that ridge would be more proper for our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? I see that hand in the back, and we will recognize you, sir. Okay.
Paul Underwood, 4444 South Drive. Quick question, will the actual zone be RPR? The notice said PUD, and that's not a zone. Will the zone be RPR?
Mr. Jones, did we decide which one that it actually was?
It will be restricted to a residential development. A PUD is either defined by the category of the zoning that you are putting it in. So if it was a commercial development, it would be, with commercial, it would be a mixed development. If it's residential, it falls into the residential category. They're not seeking anything commercial at this time, nothing they've presented so far. So it would be a residential plan unit zone.
Okay. So basically, and that question came up during the both previous public planning and zoning meetings, we discussed that aspect. They were very emphatic about the fact that this project includes no commercial development whatsoever. This is strictly single-family homes. I do know that there was some discussion about the density of the homes, and but these are all single-family only, no commercial, no strip malls, no nothing like that are part of this. No multifamily, nothing.
There's not going to be any special uses that are permitted under special regulation?
No. Not with the proposal that they have put forward, they would not be allowed.
Okay. So the only other thing that I would like to echo is, Ms. Jones, about the density, worried about stormwater water runoff and things of that nature, especially if there's rock up there. We know that water doesn't like to go through those, so thank you for your time.
Excellent, and that's a very good point there on the, about that. And so basically, Mr. Jones, you might want to explain to the group a little bit about the way the process works. Basically, this is a step that the owner has taken here to see if the council would grant them permission to have the zoning changed so that they could put in their proposal. But this is not the final step. This is not where things end by any stretch. This is kind of the beginning.
Correct.
And they will have to invest a significant amount of money to do research, engineering, and all to determine things such as the traffic flow problems that you mentioned earlier. And stormwater runoff is a big thing here in Pinson that we address.
Yeah, they'll have to build, all that'll be in their design standards with retention ponds, and I'll let him speak on that later, but yes, that is addressed. What we have to do in order for this to take place is they're gonna have to go through steps before they spend. You don't want them to spend, nobody wants them to spend $300,000 or $400,000 to come ask permission, can I possibly do this? So this zoning is taking place. It will run concurrent with the submission of the PUD subdivision, and they all have to be approved in order for one to be existent. In other words, if you approve the rezoning, it is conditional upon them then getting approval to put in the subdivision and it being a successful adventure. But yeah, just the engineering to get the plan submitted is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So yeah, this is just a step process. And there'll be, like we've said, there'll be another public hearing on zoning, and then there will be public hearings on the plan that they put forth once they get the drawings together.
So the public then, at some point in time, assuming that this eventually has a zoning, then the owner would move forward. The public would actually get to see their plans and where the retention ponds would be and the actual streets and have feedback on that.
He brought a
too.
preliminary in that I think everyone that's been involved has got to see. That's what we call as a flyover. This is the plan. It will be, a lot more will be done once they have permission to at least go forward. Still doesn't give them the final approvals. It just means before spending any money, at least they have the option.
Again, the purpose is, and this is the reason why the city of Pinson took over our own zoning, is to do this sort of thing under the county. Unfortunately, folks tended to incrementally build these large subdivisions, and there wasn't proper engineering done on the size of the pipes, and the stormwater became an issue, and traffic control, it's like, oh, look, we're only putting in 15 houses, you don't need a turn lane down there, and the next thing you know, one thing leads to another, and now there's 300 houses, and they're like, how'd y'all get away without a turn lane? Well, it's because it was not properly done all at the same time. This PUD
I'm not
idea
gonna
allows
point
that to
fingers,
happen.
but I'll make an example out of Fitzgerald Mountain.
Okay.
That road was allowed to dead end. That means if there was children live up there, the bus can't turn around. What happens? What happens with the garbage truck? What happens with the fire truck? So rules change. Now, if you build a subdivision, you can only go one lot deep on a stub street for a future development. That would never be allowed. So things have progressed. We hope they get better. That even allows the water has probably damaged their street because there's no cul-de-sac curb. So the water runs right under that asphalt. So this, you're right, this is exactly what we're doing. We're trying to plan things in a better way to where there's no piecemeal in the future.
Just for information purposes, also, this project is approximately 300 acres. I believe that the proposal is to leave, or approaching 300 acres, is to leave 175 to 180 of that untouched. It basically will be green space up there. So the density, it's a little different from where we would have like larger lots that may space out. They'll actually be, the lots are more compact. Some folks don't like large lots these days, and so this is the market driving this. These smaller lots, you don't have to mow as much and that sort of thing. But it allows the natural beauty of Pinson to still be preserved because, like I say, about 2/3 of the property up there would actually remain untouched. So, and once they do this with a PUD, this would lock it in, which would keep them from coming back later and going, wow, look at all those woods back there. We'd like to throw in a few more houses. Maybe we could put in another 3 or 4 dozen. They can't do that because basically by going through this system, they pretty much are locking themselves into the proposal, and it could not be changed later. And that's what the landowner actually wants to do. They looked at it because they're asking for some compromises on our part with regard to minimum spacing between the buildings and things as a trade-off. And so that's kind of where it's coming from. So
That's why they were asking for a PUD. It gives them some flexibility. And that also allows them to utilize the property a little better. I don't think anything would change there because I don't think the property is going to lend itself for that. I think they've designed what they could build there. Anything else is going to be cost prohibitive to reach.
Right. We're throwing in a little bit of extra detail as we go along. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this particular project at this time? Go ahead. And I know that Mr. Vining wants to speak. James, if you want to, well, you're fast with those wheels. I was going to give you time to come on up, but you're pretty quick.
If you look real closely, you will recognize this. This is the Cochran 3000.
That's pretty good.
I call the Kathy 1.1 that my mother gave me, and it's not as nice as this one.
Well, before you give your name and address, I will say it is good to see you up and about.
Well, thank you. James Vining, 6803 Markham Drive, Trussville, 35173. Is that it?
That's
Okay.
correct.
I know I don't have a dog in the fight, but I've got a lot of people that call me all the time and want to know answers. I don't know why. I'll try to keep it short and sweet because, you know, I'm never winded. To touch on Karen's and others, some of the questions were, is there going to be a barrier put up while during construction? Mud, rocks in people's yards. Will there be an addendum if these are not met and they're tearing these people's yards up? Will they be held responsible to the builder of that development?
Yes, as a matter of
Okay.
fact, and that is something that we also have here in Pinson now, is that you must
Okay.
abide by all these rules during the construction phase. Again, as someone who suffered through mudsliding off the construction of the house next door to mine into my yard, I didn't much appreciate that at all. And
I built Walmarts for 10 years, and that's.
You've seen mudslide.
I've been through 100 of these things, and it's just, you know, little nitpicking stuff that it really kills you at the end. But the vegetation and stuff is gonna be preserved. instead of just ripped out and tore up.
In areas, now
areas.
obviously where the houses are going in would be,
Right,
and that
yeah.
could potentially cause mud areas, and so they have to put up proper silt fencing, the big hay bales, all the other things that
Right.
they have to do to keep that from happening.
The traffic on Road School Road, you know it's gonna be hell.
So, yeah, let's.
Can I say that?
Yeah, let me, I'm glad you brought that up, because let me say a little bit about that, because the proposal that the architect has brought in, the construction engineer, shows a continuation of that road up into their area.
Okay.
And so the planning and zoning folks took one look at that, and we became very alarmed, because we said, okay, put yourselves in the shoes of the people that have bought these new houses up on the hill. Are gonna be like, oh, I gotta get my kid to Rudd, or I wanna go to Highway 79, south. Maybe I'll just go down this road and go past the Fitzgerald properties and everything and jump into that
Now,
traffic.
from what I understand, it's gonna have a gate, right?
And that is exactly the case that came back with said, okay, look, we need to gate that off, because no one, especially with the density, no one that's living there in the Fitzgerald properties wants to have all that come through. The fire service and emergency responders have made a very strong case as to why we should still have the gate, or why we should still have it connected because of emergency situations. I likened it to an emergency exit that you might see in a place. We don't use it. We have an emergency exit here in this particular room. We don't ever use that door, but if an emergency happened, we could pop that thing open and we
Exactly.
could get out of here. So,
Okay.
so yes, it does include the gate. The gate would be required to be perpetually maintained. It would be city property, so it'd have to be kept
All right.
shut.
Now, the last thing I have is the roadway between 75 and 79 to the entrance of the subdivision. I've been down it. We all know it's gonna have to have a turn lane put in, and it's gonna need a red light at the subdivision. Once this is passed, and y'all vote yea or nay, and everything goes into the final stages of development, will we be proactive as a city to get the state to go ahead and start with some construction, some looking on what we're gonna do with these roads to widen them? You're gonna get out of school, you're gonna get out of work, you're gonna have one side of the road that's trying to turn left and waiting forever.
Right, so here's the deal on that road thing. They will have to present a plan. The state of Alabama won't let them put this in
Okay.
until they actually do an engineering study showing, because it'll show all these houses in their plan. They will have to basically say, okay, look, this is what we've got, this is what we're proposing. And then the state will then come back and say, we're not gonna let you put that access in, and I'm glad you pointed that out. There actually is access both in the proposal on both the Highway 75 and the Highway 79 side. So
Okay.
some of the traffic could, go
So it
go
could,
one way.
it could be alleviated through on the sides on 75 and 79,
That is-
and not
that is
necessarily
correct.
through the through road.
But if they came in there and they said, okay, look, we see now what would be expected as far as for, that number of houses, what you're gonna have to have. The developer would have to actually pay to put in
Oh, yeah.
these road improvements, not the taxpayers
Oh,
and
no,
the state or
I
anything like
understand that part, but I also know as a builder for years, like I said, on the Walmarts, the last thing we freaking did was roads. And then now you got people living here and you've got no way in or out, you got blocking traffic, you got road ragers. So, that's just some of the questions that was brought forth to me over the last couple of days on telephone calls.
No, I think those are good questions, because nobody wants to have a new traffic jam popping up around here on the
Why
thing,
not?
so.
Give you enough time to get out and meet your neighbors. All right, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, sir. Okay, wait a minute, I saw another hand over here, so ma'am, I think you wanted to speak.
I think I'm discouraged, so
Okay, it's no pressure here, so you're good.
I'm just discouraged.
Was there anyone else that needed to speak? Ms. Jones, I normally, we don't allow people to speak a second time, but if you'd like to speak to individual council members later, you're perfectly fine again, so, and we will have another hearing, so. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against this particular project? If not, I'm going to call the public hearing to a close on this. We'd appreciate Appreciate everybody's input tonight on that, and we will pick this back up at a date to be determined. We want to get with the builder regarding when they may be available and some other things there on that. So it will be at minimum the first meeting in April, could potentially be the second meeting in April, so.
I would defer that back to you guys. I think they need to meet our guidelines.
Okay.
Whichever meeting y'all would like to have it at, I think that's where we need to go, and we'll start preparing the notices to be redistributed, and we'll let them know that's when they need to be here.
Well, I would rather us have plenty of time to be able to do this, so unless you're getting pressure from the builder, my proposal would be at the second meeting in April is when we would have the second hearing. Give us plenty of time to be able to get this thing together. So I personally would like to see the developer go back and make those changes that have been proposed. I think it'd be wonderful for the public to see in their proposal the actual changing. I personally think there needs to be a cul-de-sac at the end of that road with the little outlet going on to the Fitzgerald Mountain, because again, you don't want to have the dead end going, okay, the bus can't turn around, it always sees the big gate there. I would like to see that personally. I think there needs to be some digital copies given so that we can put it on the screen. That would allow folks at home to be able to see it, council to be able to review. So it's just more forthcoming information, I think, would be nice.
As a matter of fact, I encourage the people in the audience, if they would let, Chris is who you'll obviously get during the day, he's on vacation, or he'll be here to speak to. Let Chris know what you'd like to see in there, and we will do our best to accommodate you. I completely agree with you, and I know it would be addressed that there's not going to be a dead end at the gate.
Right.
We couldn't do that.
Okay. We appreciate that. Okay, so we're, again, I'm going to, with council's permission, basically carry this meeting over to a future, this hearing over to a future date. Mr. Black, do I need to
Go ahead and name the
state that
date.
date? So with y'all's permission, I would like for it to be carried over till April 17th. Is there any objection? Okay. All right. Mr. Black, was there anything else regarding that?
No, sir. If there's no objection, then your proposal would be accepted by the council, and then everybody be directed to act accordingly with the public notices.
Excellent.
Okay.
So I will close the public hearing with that understanding on there. All right, next, moving on to the mayor's report, and I'm going to change my order here for when I had here in my own report. I wanted to speak since we got a few folks here. You might have heard the address South Drive given, which is basically a parallel road to the Fitzgerald Mountain Road where the connection takes place. During the hearing last a week or so ago, we learned that the road up there is interestingly in need of some repairs. So I took the opportunity to run up there, and I was not impressed with the quality of that road and how it's deteriorated over time. I've reached out. It is under the Jefferson County Maintenance Department that they actually, it's part of the original incorporation, so they actually take care of it. You will be pleasantly pleased to learn, I hope, perhaps even pleasantly surprised, that when they arrived on the scene, the supervisor, he took a look at it and said, whoa, this thing really is bad. So it seems to have kind of fallen through the cracks. I got some good news and bad news. The good news is now it's on their radar. The bad news is they had not seen this enough to get to the level before to put it on the paving schedule. So as a result, y'all are not currently up for a repair. However, this is what they're going to do. They're going to go in. There was questions about whether or not there may be damage to the sewer system up there. They want to make sure that that's actually not collapsing. They believe it was due to the technology that was in place at the time of the construction of y'all's neighborhood, that the type of gravel that surrounds the pipes does not compress very well, did not compact, and so it has taken years and years to actually do the compaction, and it's beginning to fall down, leaving these nice square areas all over the road, which is terrible to drive on. They want to make sure that the pipes themselves, though, have not collapsed. They're up there. They may have already been this week. They're going up there with cameras. They're going to run through those pipes, make sure they're secure. If they're not, then they will be doing a sewer rehabilitation up there on your street. While they're there, they have a very good relationship with the sewer department, and they have agreed to also run those cameras through your stormwater drainage system, which I understand has been giving y'all fits up there. It's not been pulling off the water. So they're going to look at that. They're going to make sure those pipes are okay, and if they see any blockage, they're also going to be cleaning those out at this time. They will be coming back and putting in some patches over that. They want to get the road at least level, and then they want to see how they do, because if they continue to drop, they're going to have to do something else. They don't want to go in there and level, then pave, and then have this thing just do it all over again. It'd be a big waste of money. So the good news is you should be seeing some action taking place up there fairly soon. The perfect, nice new paving job, though, might be another 12 to 30 months, I would say, away before you actually see new pavement up there. So anyway, that's an update there on South Drive. And again, I was very surprised. I would put that particular roughness of that pavement up to any bad roads we may have anywhere in the city. But I'm open to any others. If folks want to call up and say, hey, can you please come take a look at mine? I'll be more than happy to take a look just like I did with those folks. Next up, I want to congratulate our basketball team at the high school. They had a tremendous season this year with and I'm sure council may want to speak on this in a little bit, but had a tremendous season. They did go to the Final Four. They won the first game. They came up short in the championship game, but it was still an excellent season, certainly far beyond what the expectations were. They lost a very good player right before the season began, who transferred off to somewhere up north, and so they thought, uh-oh, we may not be as good as we thought we were, but they flat out came back. They weren't a very tall team, but they certainly outplayed the taller competition in many areas. But I just couldn't say that I was extremely proud. Coach Barber has a really great team up there, and the way the guys conduct themselves on the floor was most excellent. So again, congratulations to our Indians basketball team for this season. The last thing I want to comment on, and in a little bit, Chief Horn will be giving his report on the Centerpoint Fire District. I just wanted to say, this past week, of course, we had several wildfires in the area. I got to learn, this was my first wildfire event as mayor, so this was quite an interesting procedure for me to get to see what's going on. I have learned that when it comes to snow and wildfires, you are not prepared, that it's not in the manual. So I have learned that through the School of Hard Knocks. Now, I was extremely impressed. I cannot state this any more strongly with the professionalism and the inner cooperation that took place between the various districts. I know that I was personally met with several of the chiefs at these. Three of the chiefs that cover our area are all here tonight. Chief Dollins left now, but the other two chiefs are still here, and they may want to speak in a little bit about this. I got to see them up there on the site. It was amazing, and Chief Horn will talk about the various agencies, but I was extremely impressed. The Sheriff's Department was involved, the Forestry Service. You guys can mention all the various fire districts and fire departments that were involved. We got up on the first scene, which was a week ago, yesterday, so it was last week ago, Wednesday. There were 45 firefighters up there on that scene. People don't realize when you have a 45-man fire in Pinson, that's a big deal. And obviously, these folks don't have 45 people working at the same time. It takes multiple departments working together. So it was amazing to get to watch you guys. I know you've said it before. It's not the name on the side of the truck. It's what happens. I saw this firsthand. I was extremely impressed by what took place and about what happened on that. So again, they kept us in the loop. We made sure we talked to folks in the neighborhoods, try to give them an idea about what was going on. And I just, again, can't say enough thank you, gratitude, and praise for you guys, the professionalism and what y'all did up there on the site. So again, thank you very much for that. And we'll get a chance to talk about it a little bit more in just a few minutes. That is it on that. And so we'll now move on to old business. Mr. Sanders, I believe we've got something here in maintenance.
Yes, there are quite a number of small items needed at the Palmerdale Community Center, cleaning the roof, some fascia repair, window pane repair, just a number of items, repairing an entrance ramp, things like that. So I would like to move that we approve an estimate given by Four Corner Contractors in the amount of $68,306 as presented to council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. So as Mr. Sanders just said, basically, this is something we've been talking about. I think we probably first brought it up last summer to bring it back before you guys. This is some deferred maintenance that basically needs to take place up there. One of the things that was a little different from a couple of years ago are the windows. A lot of that caulk is basically dried out and is popping. The paint's popped off and everything else looks pretty rough. This includes that work, so they would be replacing all that caulk, glass where it's broken, repainting all those frames. Should really look first class. The staining is taking place on our nice roof up there. It's a silver colored roof. This will be cleaned up so it'll shine bright again. We'll certainly get the cameras out when this is finished. We can update our photos.
Believe it or not, Mr. Mayor, the roof is actually white.
Oh my goodness.
It looks gray now.
That will be quite a difference in appearance there.
So I'm looking forward to that white roof.
The white roof.
Coming back.
If it turns silver, we may have a problem, because that means we went too far, I guess. So anyway, it does have a relatively new roof on there, which the city put on there.
10 years perhaps,
Yeah.
I would think, so.
So it'll get back to looking first class again. And like I say, we've had some wood rotting off the sides and other things. This will take care of all that. So was there any other comments, concerns, or anything about that? If not, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call on that?
Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. So we will move forward with working with the contractors. Mr. Winfrey, we can get those guys going on that and make that happen. Next is, let's see here, we're moving now to new business, and Mr. Sanders, I believe you also have something on that.
Yes, continuing on that premises, I would like to move that we accept an agreement with M&M Mobile Truck Service in the amount of $27,000 to remove, clean, and rehabilitate, if you will, the drainage ditch. And in addition to that, part two of that motion is to authorize the mayor to execute any necessary work easement that Mr. Black may draft so we can access the other side.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to let you decide, because that sounded stereophonic from here.
Yes. And then I'll speak
Okay, go
to it
ahead.
another
Say a little
moment.
bit
Yeah, there's a large, old timers might call it a drainage branch that comes down between the fire station and that half of the homesteads. And we have maintained it, not to this extent, but we hope that there's some blockage in the culvert we can see once we get down in there, but that will help the drainage to the fire department, the storm shelter, adjacent landowners, and Miles Springs Road itself. So hopefully this will cure several issues with one action.
Excellent. It is a little difficult. It's not just your typical run a bulldozer through the place. It's a little more difficult. These trees have to be brought down individually because there is a large radio tower that's part of the fire services equipment, which is still in use. They don't want to lose their ability for communication, so they have to be careful. The wires that keep the tower from blowing over all run right through all these trees. So we have to be careful as we do that. We basically want to go through there though and clear that ditch, do some nice sloping there on it. Once we get it open, we may come back to you guys potentially for if we need to do some seed or perhaps some large stonework or something there in order to try to shore it up. But we really won't know what we've got until we get these trees and stuff out of the way. The adjacent landowner has agreed that the trees can come down, so and again, we would be working on this agreement to make sure we have permission and all that before we proceed with any work. Unfortunately, if we just clear the ditch and try to leave the trees in place, it looks like their support would not be stable. We would run the risk of these trees then beginning to start to topple over into the fire station was the biggest concern of the chief. And needless to say, the station is very valuable, but the vehicles they have inside are extremely valuable, and so nobody wants to see those trees going through the fire trucks. So hence the reason why all this needs to be done. So Any other thoughts on this one? You guys love ditches, I'm sure, so this is, okay. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call on this one, too?
Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. All right, so next, Ms. Kirkland, I believe we have a resolution concerning our Board of Zoning Adjustments.
Yes, I would like to offer a resolution number 25-04, appointing new members to the Zoning Board of Adjustments of the City of Pinson, Alabama. Whereas the City of Pinson has established a Zoning Board of Adjustments, and whereas the City Council desires to appoint a member to the vacant seat in accordance with the provision of Code of Alabama 1975, 1152-80. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pinson, Alabama, while in regular session on March the 6th, 2025 at 7:00 p.m., Lisa Dotman is appointed to full term, replacing David Gillen as a seated member of the board for a term of 3 years, which shall commence on January 1st, 2025, and will expire on December 31st, 2028. Thank you, Lisa. And also, Grant Mitchell is appointed to full term, replacing himself as a seated member of the board for a term of 3 years, which shall commence on January 1st, 2025, and will expire on December 31st, 2028. Thank you. Andre Roper is appointed to full term, replacing Pat Wise as a seated member of the board for a term of 3 years, which shall commence on January 1st, 2025, and will expire on December 31st, 2028. Adopted the 6th day of March, 2025. Thank you guys for volunteering to do this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second on that. So, yes, as mentioned in the pre-council, we are in need of some members. We've got a case now that needs to come before the Board of Zoning Adjustments. We have things in there. This board looks at potential variances that may apply. And also, we have special conditions on certain things where the board is asked to look at them and make sure that it's something that we really want to allow in a particular area. This would be a requirement here due to the nature of the business that we just rezoned. This needs to go before this board. We do need to have some new members, and again, we do thank these folks for volunteering. This is a vote of the council. You guys get to decide who sits on this board, and so this is, again, that's the reason why it's before you tonight. If there are no other questions or thoughts on that, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on this one?
Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. So that resolution passes unanimously, 2025-04. All right, next up is Mr. Walker on this fiber optic.
Yes, I would like to offer an ordinance concerning franchise agreement with Farmers Telecommunications Corporation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Again, basically, this is a franchise agreement. Mr. Black, I'm going to let you give the nice, concise legal version of what it is we're voting on here. So,
Yes, sir. This is a franchise agreement with Farmers Telecom, who was just in here a minute ago at the beginning of the meeting to talk about a grant they'd been awarded from the state of Alabama to provide broadband internet services across a swath of northeastern Alabama, part of which runs through Pinson, since they would be using the public rights-of-way. In order to carry out the terms of that grant, they need a franchise from the city. And so the document that you've got here is a 10-year franchise, and it's very similar to the terms of franchises the city's done previously. It provides some compensation for the city as a part of it. And as you heard from the grant, they will be serving, and as you've seen in the packet, they will be making sure that the fiber that they're running is made available to various anchor institutions throughout the city.
excellent. Are there any questions or thoughts on this one? Okay, we did not have this on the agenda earlier. Did not have that on there. So, and it is an ordinance. So, I guess it really doesn't matter, it's gonna have to go either way, so I do need a motion to unanimous consent to consider. Sorry, not a motion, but, so I need a roll call vote on unanimous consent.
Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes. If someone had needed more time and had objected, basically, the law requires that ordinances come before council twice unless everyone is in agreement, that we can go ahead and move forward. This gentleman said he only had, 11 months to get another 100 miles worth of fiber in, so I guess we want to speed that process up, so we appreciate that. So, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote now on the actual ordinance itself?
Yes. Counselor Irvin?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Sanders?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes.
Mayor Roberts?
Yes, and so that ordinance passes unanimously as 2025-10. So again, he seemed to say a couple of months, so they'll be doing some stuff, and probably by this summer, we may start seeing some boring going on out there along the roads. You'll know what it is. It's some fiber optics coming through our area, so that's nice. All right, that's everything under the business today. So next, we will move on to department heads and public comment. First, I'll call for any department heads that need to share anything. I'm getting a lot of nods from my department head folk. Shaking of the heads from the department head folks, so we'll hold that on off. Next will be public comment. I don't know if there's anyone, before public comment, I did want to call on Chief Horn and let him come on up, and I tell you what, Chief, if it's okay with you, can I go ahead and ask these other two chiefs to at least come sit down close to you up here, because they may want to join in.
Absolutely.
Mr. Terry just told me I had 2 minutes, and he has a cane and not a belt this time, so.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Mr. Terry used to whip me with that belt when I was little, so.
I was going to give you a little more leeway than that,
Okay.
especially
Well, I'm
considering how
just
much
saying.
work you guys did over the last week.
I'm just saying. So I did not know the Chiefs were going to be here, and I'm glad they are, because last week, Tuesday, the Forestry Commission, they reported they had 181 fires that they responded to from Tuesday to that Sunday. We actually, Center Point Fire, we had 18 fires in that, from that Tuesday to that Sunday, and I was on every one of them for a long period of time. And last month, we actually had, we ended the month with 22 fires, woods fires that we had in the area. So the rain has come in, it hasn't helped, it's still dry out there. The cities have ordinance against burning anyway. I will tell you that the health department's not issuing any burn permits, and neither or is the Forest Commission. They're not offering any either. So I would like to say thank you to Palmerdale and Glenwood. They're always, anytime I've called them, I kind of call them before they call them on the radio to give them a heads up. They're already responding and heading this way. Fultondale Fire also. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, the big fire that we had, which we burned, it ended up being 140 acres over here off of Silver Lake. We couldn't have done it without them when they're drone. We do have a drone. We're stopped at a limit that we can go. They can go higher than us. They stood out there. William Cousins was the deputy's name. He was out there for almost 8 hours on his feet with us the whole time. Gave us some good views. The chief was out there. Chief Rocky was out there also. He got to see the fires. I know, Mayor, you showed up and saw it on TV also. The Red Cross also. The Red Cross don't only just come when there's floods. We called them for their canteen. We had 42 firemen on the ground, and I was calling everybody I could call to try to get us some help. I know the mayor and Mr. Sanders came out and brought us some food that one night. Also, the mayor of Center Point, I reached out to him. He also had some pieces delivered to us. So it took a team effort. It worked very well. You can see the respect we have for each other and how we work together. I've told you all this again and again. It's not about territory. It's about what we do for our living. So want to go over real quickly. We're in the second week of our recruit school. It's ongoing. We have only lost one recruit. So I want to invite you all to please put
Through
it on.
resignation, I think, or something. I think you need to clarify.
Okay.
They're not still stuck in your pipes over there either.
No, he's not stuck in the pipes. He resigned. Thank you. He resigned on his own free will. Yeah. So we're down to we're still down, our numbers are still at 14. And if you don't know this, you know, the fire college comes out, in which we want them to come out. They come out about every day, every afternoon. And unfortunately, it's not unfortunately, fortunately enough, the one that we have from the fire college, he actually lives in the fire district kind of close from here. So he comes by here every day. He does what he's supposed to, and we welcome him. We actually, we're glad he's coming by to check on us, and we want that. So the recruits are doing well, but I would like for you guys to put on your calendar on Friday, April the 25th, around 3:30. I would like to invite you all to come down to our, that's when we're doing our live fire burn. We're going to do it at 3. We'd like for you guys to come down. We're not going to turn the heat all the way up, but we're actually going to turn it up a little bit and let you guys go in part of the structure down there where you can actually see it firsthand. And I want you to see how the buildings are that we had welded and put together. I want you to see how it's going to work. The staff, we're going on a trip on March the 17th to finally pick up our new fire truck that we ordered in '22. We're finally going to do the final inspection on it. And then when we get back, it'll be a short turnaround on March the 25th. We'll be going up to Roanoke and pick up our tech truck and our rehab truck. They've been ordered since '21. So we're just now taking deliveries on those. So got a lot of exciting things going on. You saw the numbers. I shared the numbers with y'all. I'm not going to go over with, with those. The big thing that I have a report is the woods fires. Please ask no one to burn right now. It's not good to burn. If you go outside and you pick up a leaf and it crumbles in your hand, that means it's too dry to burn. So we don't need to do that either. Any questions, any comments?
Thank you so
Thanks for all
much.
y'all do. Absolutely.
It's good to see everybody this evening, and thank you very much for your kind words, Chief Horn. It's good to see such seamless cooperation between the departments when something like this occurs, and we're happy to help them, and I know they are happy to help us anytime we call. We have seen an uptick in people trying to burn stuff because it rained the other day, and that. Just to reiterate, that's a terrible thing right now. I know we got 2 inches of water at a very fast pace, and that's a flood. That's a small flood, but that dries up quickly, and we're seeing a lot of people try to drag limbs and stuff in their yards and try to clean their yards up, and they're setting it on fire. And what that's causing, especially in these high wind environments right now, it's causing fires to run away where they can't control them, and they end up having to call us. So, just to reiterate what he said already, please don't burn right now, especially in Jefferson County. Obviously, we're not supposed to burn anyway, but please pay attention to the conditions that we're in. So, thank you very much for the kind words, and thank you, Rocky, for helping out, and we're certainly glad to help out. So, thank you all very much.
Appreciate it, Chief.
You're up, Rocky. Come on, Rocky. Come on, Rocky. I didn't do that to your foot. Let them know that.
I started to say, Chief, I don't remember that foot being like that last week. Did that happen?
I made my wife mad, she kicked me.
Okay. I didn't know if you fell off the side of one of those sites we were working out there.
What'd you say happened to your foot?
I've had surgery. I've been dealing for the last 2 years. Just last surgery was 5 months back, and finally getting to get up and walk around. They done a little bit of sewing on it today and put me in a boot. So,
Okay.
just to go back what they said, it's all about the community. It ain't about districts. So anything we can do to help, they know they can call, we'll come. When we call, they come. So that's pretty much all it's all about the community, not just districts. And then that's pretty much all. I just want to say thank you all the support y'all gave us, all the support Palmdale and Centerpoint gives us. If y'all need us, just call, we'll come.
Excellent.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that greatly there. It was very nice to pull up on the scene last week and see these gentlemen right there. It's a specialized equipment when you get off of the fire's not right on the road. They have to bring in some special stuff that they have just for these kind of occasions. It was not exactly what you call a friendly access area up there on the hill, and so the four-wheel drive things that they had, there was no water, they had to shuttle water in. We appreciate all, I know you guys have got the tanker over there at Glenwood, we appreciate that a lot. Chief Horn was parked in a very bushy area, and I walked up to him and I said, "Is this your normal parking area?" He was certainly frazzled at the moment because they've been up there fighting the fire for many hours, and you know, I don't care what they say, these delivery services, they just don't deliver to active fire scenes. I don't know what it is. Uber Eats does not deliver to that in the volume and the speed in which they needed. So anyway, we were more than happy to be able to help out myself, and I was able to catch Councilman Sanders at the perfect time there, and so he and I were able to help you guys out with that, and we appreciate it. Worked out very good timing because they were working that one scene there, the wildfire, which had already consumed one house, and then they ended up with another structure fire right down here on Oak Street, not far from here, where someone's garage caught on fire and was substantial damage down there too. So multi-scene is not unheard of, but when one scene is, you told me it was 45 the other night, but I noticed you qualified that by saying on the ground or whatever that caveat was, so maybe they didn't count some of their leadership over there, but 45 guys there, plus the guys that were overworking the other fire. It takes a lot. And I know that just the other night, I passed the Palmerdale cars and Palmerdale trucks. They were coming up to work a wreck. Again, it had to have been a deal where y'all were swapping out due to things being overloaded because the scene was clearly over here in the Center Point section, and you guys were working. I think this was the wreck with the 18-wheeler and the motor vehicle involved, so just up by the Baptist church. So again, this I know it may be getting old to you guys, but I just can't brag enough on the cooperation that's going on. Again, these folks, when they saw those flames coming down the back of the hill, they were glad to see guys with equipment, the suits on, the water, the drone, which I can't brag enough on that drone thing. It was amazing because this is some pretty interesting environment that they're at. It had the night vision on there, and they were able to see where bodies of water are. They're directing the forestry guys around to, keep them from running off a cliff and going down into a pond or something. They can see the fire, direct these guys around. That drone that the sheriff's department had was great because, as everybody knows, the wind was also very strong. It takes a large drone to run through the batteries, or they can't be flown. Smaller drones can't be flown at those wind speeds. These guys brought out a really nice big drone, and it was able to stay in the air while these guys were putting the fire out. So again, we really do appreciate that. So thanks again. Is there anybody up here, anything else on the fires you guys had? So, okay. Anyone else from the public like to say anything? Yes, sir.
We'd like to talk about some lights on 75.
Well, if you'll come forward and state your name and address for our clerk, please.
My name is Jim Raines. I live at 5234 Midwood Road, Pinson. I'd like to see about getting a light at the intersection of Midwood Road and Highway 75, because when it's dark, especially when it's raining, you can't see the road. So we'd like to see what it would take to get a light put up there. I know we have several security lights in some of our properties, and they cost me about $15 a month, I'd be willing to pay $15 a month if somebody put the light up, And the other thing is and it's probably not your responsibility, but the lights at the high school where it says flashing lights, where it says slow down to cause of school, they're on all time during the day, It's supposed to be on in the morning when you're going in the afternoon when you're leaving, and this sort of thing. Go through there sometime 10, 11 o'clock during the day, lights are flashing. Well, that just gets everybody to start ignoring the lights. So I don't know who's responsible for that sort of thing, but they ought to resync them every once in a while.
Well,
those are Jefferson County. We need to send a
see whether or not we'll have them check that programming and make sure that that's.
Yes, like I say, I go through there sometime long after the rush hour or in the time for the schools coming and going, and they're out there flashing. And one other thing, there's no speed limit on the Highway 75 coming into town from Aniana. Somebody knocked it down 4, 5, 6 years ago, and nobody's replaced it yet. So,
As you come into Palmerdale?
as you come into Palmerdale, yeah.
Oh.
They, so, get somebody to look into that. And once again, I don't think it's y'all's responsibility, but it's somebody's responsibility.
So headed south there on 70.
South from Aniana, yeah. There's one going out across the highway where it changes into.
Tells you to speed up but not slow down.
That's right. I know the highway patrol writes tickets through there all the time, but if I got a ticket there and there's no speed limit sign, I would be real upset. No, I agree with you.
The lady that heads up the sign stuff out here, they're very nice. I will
Okay, that's the only thing
check
I
in
want.
with her and see about
Okay.
if they can get that
But I
replaced.
did notice as I was driving in here at night, I don't often come out at night down here. There's no lights anywhere, street lights anywhere on 75 and downtown here. It's dark out there, Maybe
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. We have to look at where the poles are, because obviously then you have to start running separate poles, and then of course it gets into a big expense. This is so large geographic city, and everybody would want a light, and the next thing we know, we'd be like,
Well, at
uh-oh.
least you put a few in.
And we do have some, so we'll take a look and take at that.
But it is awful dark out there, at night.
Thank
That's-
you.
That's it.
Anyone else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are hereby adjourned at 8:35 PM.
Could it?